This is my SIOP resource folder. It has my name at the bottom. I did go ahead and change the color on it, and I put a frog on it because I like frogs. Green isn't necessarily my favorite color, but match the frog. Okay, so our first page, it's gotten a little bit up because I have used it, is lesson preparation. And this is great for when you're creating your lesson. So as I'm creating my lesson, I'm going to refer to these things. The first thing is going to be how to start an objective. So it's objective starters, kind of helps you get in there and create that objective. Higher order content objective verbs and language objective verbs. So sometimes you struggle and you just want to say understand, but understand isn't really measurable. So make sure that your verb is a good measurable verb. Then down here we have these, and these are great for, oh, I need to add something, integrate something into the lesson that's meaningful. Oh, I'll use one of these, which could be hands-on or multimedia, pictures and visuals. Then down here we have this green box, and then that's a checklist. So as I'm creating my lesson, I want to make sure that these things are considered and implemented in the content and objective languages in my lesson. Or, I'm sorry, the content and language objectives in my lesson. So that's what that's for. I wouldn't actually check it off, but mentally, oh, okay, I did that. Then we go to page 2, and page 2 has building background knowledge. We have this bridge, and the bridge is just letting you know that you need to make sure that as an ELL teacher, you are connecting the prior knowledge to the new content and language concepts. That will be huge for them. And then we go to the green and orange, and then that's to make necessary critical connections between prior and new content. Again, the green one is for activating prior knowledge. So some of these one of these questions is, how is this like something you have done before? It gives them a good open-ended question for them to spurt out whatever they've got going on. Then the orange is for, or it says it's red, but it's orange, is for connecting the new content. So this question is, what is unique about each of them? So that's those. And then down here, this red box is going to help me when I'm trying to develop academic vocabulary with ESL students. This is one of the most difficult areas for ESL students. Okay, then we've got building background. And I actually flagged some of them that I liked. One was the partner pretest. Another was the four corners, where you put the illustration, definition, word, and sentence. And then another is the definition map. And then this one. And that flip book is going to give me a list of activities that I can use with my students to build background knowledge. So those were some of the ones that I personally liked. My book has seen better days already. Alright, so now we're on to page 3, and it's comprehensible input. So comprehensible input, this guy right here is just reminding me when I'm working with ESL students to remember I should always speak slower, enunciate my words, simplify sentences and avoid idioms, and model, repeat, and paraphrase. Then this little girl is maybe what your ELL students are feeling while you're trying to teach the lesson. So all they're thinking is, she doesn't explain good enough for me, or she talks too fast. So make sure you keep that in mind, because they're trying to sometimes translate whatever you're saying to their language and then comprehend it. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer. And then, let's see, this box right here, these are some ideas that I can use in my lesson to make content concepts clear for my ELLs. Gestures, body language, model, same thing that we've been doing. Okay. Now we're on to page 4. And page 4 is about strategies. And we have this verbal scaffolding techniques. This is our bridge, and this, our ladder. This ladder is for teaching a concept to ELLs. This ladder represents the techniques I should use. So you can see it says paraphrasing, think aloud, same things that we've been going over, but just keep this in mind all the time when working with your ELLs. Then this is the strategy packet that we worked on, and I pulled some of my own and some of my fellow classmates' strategies and put that in here, so this will be good to refer back to whenever I can't really think of anything. Maybe what they did or maybe what I did at that time was a really good idea. Okay, now we're on to page 5. And page 5 is about interactions. So we have these people and their interactions. And I know one of the ones that I saw in here was about the student talking and teacher talking. There it is. Okay, and it just says make sure that, you know, when you're talking, give them time to talk too. It's not just you providing the whole lesson and no time for them. They may have a question, or they may need to reiterate it to you just in case they're not understanding and they need to make sure for clarification. Give them time to talk too. It's not just your party. Then we've got grouping. So make sure whenever you're doing this, let's see, this one says independent task, guided instruction. Group in a variety of ways, and this will allow the ELL student to work with other classmates, not just one classmate, and get them familiar with other classmates also. Okay, this is page 5, interactions. And then we have, going on to the stopwatch over here, provide enough wait time for students to respond. So when you ask a question, if you hear the crickets and you're like, they don't know, you still give them time because they could be thinking of the perfect answer. So allow them that time. Then we go to interrupt, and it says do not interrupt. So don't interrupt them, just go ahead and let them finish, and don't constantly correct them either. That's not fair to them. Let them have their thought process. And give additional time. They may need a little bit more time as they're processing this information. Be patient and understanding. That's what the heart is for. Alright, then the second part is dedicated to practice and applications. And let's see, these hands represent interactive ways for me to incorporate activities that can apply content and language knowledge as well as integrate language skills. So let's see, this one says electronic games. This one says character diaries. The electronic games was right there. So it's some different ideas for that method. Alright, then we go on to lesson delivery. Okay, in lesson delivery, these arrows right here are to remind me that both content and language objectives need to be reviewed, displayed, and should also be written in a student-friendly manner. Then we have the ruler, the assessed paper, and then the binoculars, and they are for measurable, which is this, assessed, which is the little test, and observable. All objectives should be measurable, assessed, and observable. Then the 3 clocks, which are here, here, and here, they remind me to engage students in academic learning time, allocate objectives and skill time, but most importantly, the lesson time, 90 to 100%, should include engaged time where students are actively participating in the lesson. So it's not just you talking. It's you talk, then they talk or interact or whatever the case may be, but it's not just you. Then we have the feed up here, which says pace the lesson. They're going to remind us if students are having a hard time catching up, slow down. If students are staring at the ceiling or just sitting there, speed up. That's too slow if they're just sitting there and staring at the ceiling. Then we have this red, which is ideas for lesson delivery. And I like the one, it's hard to see since I put the sticky note on it, but this one right here is for Think, Pair, Share. And that's a great idea to give them some information and then have them think about it and then have them pair up and then share the information with each other. Okay, then the next part of this is review and assessment. Alright, so we've got clouds right here, and those clouds represent how I could review key vocabulary, like using synonyms and antonyms, using an analogy. Okay, then we go to this oval, and it reminds me to use wrap-up techniques such as exit tickets, or talk to your partner, or writing in a journal. That's always good. And then this last one is, these are some ideas of ways to assess students in a formal and informal way. And the ones that I like, the informal, is retelling. So have them retell. And not only retell you, but tell the class too. So maybe if the class missed something, but they understood it a little better, this will, you know, allow them to maybe teach a little bit to the class. And then the formal, design a model. I think that's pretty good for them to have to design a model of sorts and then present that. Okay, and then this is, the last part is important large resources. And I use my ELPS all the time, and so I put it in here backwards so it's upside down, so it's easier to pull out because of these little flaps get stuck. So that's upside down. I use that all the time. And then I went ahead and put this, I believe this was from last semester, but it's important word or common acronyms for bilingual bilingual teachers. So different things that you might need to know, like let's see, let me see, ESL, what that stands for, or No Child Left Behind, the acronym for that, or it even has TELPAS in there, so if you don't know what it is, maybe that would help you. Okay, let's see. Then the ELPS TELPAS proficiency level descriptors, I went ahead and included that, and that was great. My teacher actually had to do her TELPAS for her students, and she couldn't find hers, and she opened it up on the website, and I saw it, and I was like, I have that. And so I was able to open this up and let her borrow this so that she could use it without having to look on the computer and then go to a different screen. It was a lot easier to have it. She goes, I didn't know that you had this. And I said, well, I knew I had it. I didn't know the need for it, but now I know that that's what that's for, is for when you're rating your TELPAS. That's a great way to rate them. Then I have this, let's see here, capacity building series, and it's asking effective questions, and that's really good for when you're asking questions. You don't want to ask yes no questions. You want to ask a question that builds, that allows them to build on an open-ended question. That's a great question. Then this the last thing is the Colorado ELL starter kit for educators. That's been pretty interesting to read, and that is actually the end. Here's my back of it. Well, thank you very much for going through, once again, my SIOP resource folder. Misty Rodriguez right there. Thanks.